Hello and welcome to Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games night and to introduce friends and family members to the game. In this video we're going to carry on looking at the Bloomburrow decks, and in this one we're going to do Sneaky Squeakers, which is a blue and black deck based all around the rats and the surprise return of the threshold mechanic. So let's remind ourselves of the rules of Get Decked before we get into looking at the deck. So these decks are 60 cards, they're designed for 1v1 games. We're only using Bloomburrow cards in these next few videos. We're going to use mostly commons and uncommons, no cards that cost more than $2 at time recording. We limit ourselves to 12 different non-land cards for a good mix of variety and consistency. Strong themes, low to mid complexity, but just because it's a casual deck doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. So yeah, let's dive in and start looking at the deck list. So we've got 19 creatures, 4 instants, 10 sorceries, 4 artifacts, 23 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. We're only topping off at mana value 3, so yeah, that's why we've only got 23 lands. But yeah, because the rats are nice and cheap. So yeah, we're going to see how they play. So let's dive into it, and we're going to first talk about how we're winning. Well, with a bunch of little sneaky rats, obviously. So first we're going to look at Shoreline Looter. So 1 and a blue for a 1/1. It can't be blocked, which is kind of a theme amongst the rats, that they all have some sort of like evasion. Either straight up can't be blocked, or other some sort of like not skulk, but like menace or stuff like that. So that's the whole thing with the rats, is just they are really difficult to try and lock down in combat. So Shoreline Looter can't be blocked, which is, fine. It's also got a Threshold ability. So Threshold is making its turn from Odyssey block, which is a really, 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 really old set. So Threshold is basically, as long as you have seven or more cards in your graveyard, you are considered to have Threshold, and that will turn on all the Threshold abilities. So Shoreline Looter is when it deals combat damage to a player, which, I mean, it can't be blocked. You draw a card, and then unless you have Threshold, you discard a card. Which is fine, actually, because if you don't have Threshold, this helps you get towards Threshold, which is pretty clever, actually, pretty clever design. So yeah, really like Shoreline Looter. The fact, it hits, draws a card, yeah, it's great. Even if it didn't have the extra Threshold kicker, even if it just got through, did damage, and you drew and discarded, I think it'd be absolutely fine. But the fact that it can be just straight up draw when it gets through, and yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's a nice little start off, I think, to the deck. Then we've got 3 Nightwall Hermit, so 2 and a blue for a 1/4 with Vigilance. It has Threshold as long as the 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. It gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked, so it goes up to being a 2/4 with Vigilance that can't be blocked, which is nice and straightforward. Before it gets Threshold, it's like a pretty good blocker. So yeah, I really like this. And then we got 2 Azure Beastbinder, so 1 and a blue for a 1/3 with Vigilance. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or greater. So that's its form of evasion. And then, so when it attacks, up to 1 target artifact, creature, or planeswalker an opponent controls loses all abilities until your next turn. If it's a creature, it also has base power and toughness 2/2 and 2 and next turn. So this is a really, really fun ability that it just like switches off something, essentially. And if it's a creature, it can bring it down to being 2/2, which means then it can't block the Azure Beastbinder. So I really like this. I could actually really see including more of these if you wanted to like put a bit more money into decks. If you want to like modify them, I would definitely like probably include more of these. So I think this is really, really good. The thing is, it's got Vigilance, so if it turns a creature into a 2/2, and that 2/2 creature attacks, Beastbinder can block it because it's got Vigilance, so it didn't tap to attack, and it's also got 3 toughness, so it can easily block one of the it's just really well designed, really, really fun little card, honestly. And then we've got 3 Tidecaller Mentor. So 1 a blue and a black for 3/3 with Menace. If you got Threshold when it enters, you get to return a non-land permanent to his owner's hand. And I think there's a bit of a skill test here, that you might be tempted to hold on to it until you have Threshold and you get maximum value out of it, because then you get 3/3 with Menace and also get to bounce a permanent. But I think there will be times when you might have to cast this even if you don't have Threshold, just to have a 3/3 Menace on the field, which is not ideal, but you don't want to lose the game because you didn't cast this and like have it available to attack or block when it could have. So just a little skill test there, I think. And then 2 Valley Flood Callers, 2 in the blue for a 2/2 with Flash. You can cast non-creature spells as those they had Flash. We've actually got a lot of sorceries in the deck, so this is actually going to really benefit from that. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, birds, frogs, otters, and rats, you control get +1/+1 to land return, and you untap them. So this is really nice. Essentially giving like all your pretty much all your creatures like prowess, basically. And when you've got like a bunch of rats who are difficult to block, they've all got their evasion abilities, this kind of board wide +1/+1 whenever you cast a non-creature spell is really, really nice as well. the attack and the mass on tap is really nice as well. So you could get some really fun instances here where you create a whole bunch of like surprise blockers, or you just untap after you've declared attackers. Really fun card. It's doing a lot for only 3 mana, I think. And again, if you wanted to put some more money into the deck, probably add more value flood callers into it. Honestly. Right, we're going to talk about what helps us win. So this is like little boosts and card draws and stuff. So we're going to have 3 Bellowing Criers, so 1 in the blue for a 2/1. When it enters, you draw a card, then discard a card, which is nice and simple, but it helps you hit threshold. For those few cards you've got that do care about it. It's just a straight up loot effect. So we do only have a mana value, maximum mana value of 3 in the deck. So I think very quickly lands will become sort of like surplus to requirements. So that's an easy thing, I think, to discard, even if you play this late game. I think, yeah, I just like Bellow and Cry. I think it's pretty fun little card. And then 2 Daggerfang Duos, 2 and a black for a 3/2 with Death Touch. When it enters, you may mill 2 cards, which is again fine to help build up to threshold. And yeah, it's just a okay creature after that. Again, it's got Death Touch. People are don't really want to block it. And then we've got 3 Dire Sights, 2 and a black sorcery. You surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, and then you lose 2 life. Surveilling means you look at the top 2 cards of your library, you put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest go back on top of any order, which is nice. So you can filter away cards that you don't want to draw. It's like maybe late game, it's probably going to be lands because say we've maximum mana value here is 3. I feel like once you've got like 5 land, maybe like you don't need any more after that. It's so cheap, so you could easily use this to help build up to threshold and power up the rats. And that's also why Fountain Port Bell is in here. So hear me out on Fountain Port Bell. I think this is kind of perfect for the rats, honestly. So only 1 mana. When it enters, you can search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, shuffle it, put it on top, which I think is pretty good, just for 1, just to do that. And then you pay 1 and sacrifice to draw a card. So essentially, in a roundabout way, 2 mana just to search up a basic land card, put it into hand, which is all right for like 2 colorless, especially in blue-black, which normally has no ways of searching out basic land. But I think this works really well with the rats and threshold, because this is really cheap to sacrifice, so it's another card into your graveyard, and also you can set up a basic land on top, especially when you don't need them, and then that's something ideal that you could surveil or mill away, and then you haven't maybe lost something else. Maybe, I don't know. That's my take on it, I think. So we're going to talk about what stops them winning. So this is where the full force of being blue-black sort of control is going to come in. So we're going to have 4 fells right off the bat. Just a super efficient kill spell. 1 in a black, just destroy a creature. No restrictions or anything. Just 2 mana. Really efficient. Really like fell. We've got 4 into the Floodmoor. So 1 blue. So it's normally unsummoned. You can gift a tapped fish to your opponent. And if you do that, if you promise the gift, then instead this turns into disperse, which means it can get any non-land permanent instead. So yeah, I think it's pretty fun. I think most of the time you would just do this as unsummon, but there are times when you might need to bounce a problematic artifact or enchantment or something. So always good to have the option, I suppose. And then 3 Psychic Wall, I think that's pronounced, Hall, 2 in a black. So it's a mind rot variant. So just opponent discards 2 cards, but if you control a rat, which you're quite likely to, you surveil 2. So again, look at the top 2, get rid of ones you don't want, and put the rest back in any order. So yeah, pretty cool. I think just to have a little trifecta here of like a kill spell, a bounce spell, and a discard spell, like very classically blue-black, I think. We're going to quickly talk about the mana base as well. So we've got 3 Lilypad Village. I really like these villages, like I mentioned in the last video. So Lilypad Village, taps give you colours, taps give you blue, but you can only spend that on creature spells. Or you can play 1 blue, tap, and surveil 2, but you can only activate that ability if a bird, frog, otter, or rat has entered the battlefield under your control this turn. And yeah, it's really good. I mean, like it helps you surveil, which could potentially build up threshold. Yeah, I think it's just or just generally like just filter cards until you find what you need. Yeah, really like Lilypad Village. And then 3 Mudflat Village. So taps give you colours, taps give you black, which can only be spent on creature spells. You can play 1 in a black, tap, sacrifice it to return a bat, lizard, rat, or squirrel from the graveyard back to your hand. And yeah, you might accidentally mill it or surveil it away and get it straight back, or it might just die anyway because like the rats are kind of small. They don't have like super high toughness maybe, so they might be occasionally dying. So this is just a way of getting them back. If they do hit the graveyard. And then 9 islands and 8 swamps. So yeah, pretty straightforward overall. So I'd love to know what you think about this deck. is a kind of a blue-black weenie evasive deck, kind of a bit different to what we've sort of seen before. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. If there's any changes you think you make, like I said, if you want to put more money into it, I think more of the Valley Flood Callers, more of the Azure Beast Binders, I think is probably like the way to go, because those effects are really, really strong. But yeah, if you got any thoughts or comments or opinions, anything like that on the deck, definitely stick a comment down below and I'll give it a read like I always do. But I hope you join me next time when I have another Bloomburrow Get Decked deck to look at. So hope to see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.